very exciting.
That paper checkbook?
No way. Look at you. You got the old school checkbook.
So,
Holy cow.
Yeah, you got it filled out.
Like why?
So-
You must
Yeah,
just like
literally
that
why.
because
How you make it, how you wanna make it, how you make it, how
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Friends, welcome back to another episode. Really excited for this one. We're interviewing another YNABer. And Ben, I think, in fact, I'm certain this is the nerdiest YNABer that we have ever interviewed.
I think so. I mean, like, she's got all the credentials. She has
Totally.
binged all the episodes, right?
Yep.
She sent a YNAB win. She sent a suggestion for an episode. And then we were like, oh, you have to be on the show because you're the perfect person to do this suggestion. And so now she's on the show. So I think she wins.
And her win was also aired. It was in episode 92.
Long time ago. Yeah.
So on top of all that, this YNABer does everything manually, has never linked an account.
Wow.
And you're going to love this, Ben. She reconciles pretty much every single day.
This is my person. I love it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I am excited to introduce to you Lauren H. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Yay, Lauren.
thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, I have to
Awesome.
confirm. Now, you said you've never linked any accounts. Like you've never established a connection, not even out of curiosity.
No.
I love it.
Wow. That's impressive.
It's hardcore. It's hardcore. And you've
I
been
feel like-
YNABing
I
a
think-
long time, right?
Yeah, like 7 years, I think now.
So you've
But no,
entered
6
every
years.
single
But-
thing. Have you ever done a file import little thing?
No.
So you just typed in every
Holy
transaction.
cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
I
it.
love
I mean, when
it.
you do it every day, you know, it's not
It's easy,
not
yeah.
that big of a task, but
Yeah, I could do it. I think maybe I should do an experiment sometime. And I think Jesse did that. He's like turned off all the importing. And I mean, I feel like I could do it because I feel like I almost do that every time because I reconcile every day and I enter all the pending transactions if they're not already entered. So I'm pretty close. Like when I do import, there's a lot of little chain link icons. Sometimes there's one that I miss, but I get pretty much all of them. So
sounds like you're just making more work for yourself.
yeah, I might actually, maybe I should just do what you do, Lauren, and just turn it off because it's an extra step at this point. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren, why don't you start by telling us your YNAB story? You started in 2019. What brought you to YNAB?
So probably what a lot of people get started with budgeting is that you hit rock bottom. So I, at the end of 2018, I was like 2 years into my first job out of grad school. I was living in a new state on my own. I had gotten a dog because what else do you do when you move to a new state by yourself? So I think in my head too, like I had a job, which meant I had money, which means I didn't need to worry about money because I had a job. However, then I kind of started living above my means and I didn't do a budget at all. And I got to a point where I was paycheck to paycheck. My credit cards were all maxed out. I had student loans. I had a car loan, and I was basically just making the minimum payments on my credit cards every month just so I could have enough buffer space to then like buy groceries until I got paid again. And so it got to the point where I was like, I can't sustain this. This can't go on. And I had the very shameful, blubbering phone call to my mom asking for help at, the ripe age of like 26, being like, help me, like I'm poor, like,
Right.
to quote Bridesmaids. But so I ended up, she ended up giving me some money, which, obviously not everyone's in that boat. So I was very blessed and thankful that she was able to help me kind of kickstart my journey. And that was when I was like, I was just so embarrassed that I was like, I'm this grown woman with a job and a life and an apartment and a dog, and I can't pay for, groceries. So
well, good for you for
that's
asking
when
for
I-
help when you needed it because a lot of people can't do that. So it's good.
yeah. So that kind of jump started me. So the first like 6 months, I would say, of 2019, I was trying to find my way in personal finance. I did a lot of reading. I found a lot of books. I did like an Excel sheet, which I think a lot of people start out with, where I was trying to kind of guess what I should spend, but then I never really would go back to it and be like compare to what I actually spend. So I don't really think it was that helpful.
But you make this like
I
pretty
just-
picture at the beginning, and then
Yeah.
you're like, and then it just,
And that just makes you feel bad. It makes you feel bad about yourself
And then you
when you
forget
don't
about it,
when you
yeah.
don't achieve it. Yeah,
Right.
Like I'd look the next month and be like, oh no, I didn't do any of this.
I didn't do any of that. Yeah.
So like I was, reading books and I was trying. And so like that first 6 months was really kind of like up and down, where I would like make some progress and then I would have something, come up and I would have to pay for it and it would really set me back. And finally, like in the summer of 2019, I was like, I really need to figure out something else because this is clearly not working. Because I really wasn't seeing any progress in all of my debt payments and all that stuff that I was really trying to get ahead of, like my credit cards, especially because I was paying interest on those every month. So I started doing a lot of Googling, and that's how I found YNAB. And I did like the 1 month trial. And I think probably the first couple years I was really just using it more. Like I didn't use any of the goals or anything like that. And so I kind of used it more of like a tracking.
Yeah, totally.
But then it was once I got more of my debt paid off and I actually had more money freed up to use for things, then I really started getting more into it, where I was like setting goals for every category and like really buckling down. And so that's where I started, and now I'm debt free. So
how long do you think it was? I mean, I know it's pretty squishy, but how long do you think it was between like when you were just tracking starting in 2019 to where you feel like you were doing it the YNAB way?
probably at least 2 to 3 years.
Yeah,
I don't know
totally.
100% exactly, but it definitely was at least a couple years where I was not really doing the full in.
Yeah, I
But
asked
it
'cause I
still,
think
it still worked.
Yeah, well, it's better than nothing for sure. It's even better
Right.
than the spreadsheet, right? And
Yes.
I think I think I asked because I think there's a lot of folks in that boat where they're like, I feel like I'm just tracking. I'm like, not like there's something more, and people do that for a long time. I was expecting you to say, yeah, probably 2 or 3 years, which is pretty common, I think. But there's more. There's more out there.
Yes.
It's good.
And how much debt did you end up paying off?
I really wish I had kept a better track of it, like back when I first started, because I think with interest and all that, especially for the student loans, like I know what I kind of started out with, but I'm sure it was actually
There's
more than that.
Yeah.
With the interest that I was
Sure.
paying. But I know that I started out with $120,000 of student loan debt.
Wow.
And then I had probably like $20,000 to $25,000 of credit card debt, and then about a $20,000 car loan.
Okay, so you had like a mortgage to pay off, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or maybe like a mortgage in 2015 to pay off, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
So then I would say I paid it off in 2022.
Okay.
So once I actually like buckled down and
Wow.
really worked at it, it took me, what was that, like 4 or 5 years to pay off.
That's super fast for that much debt. That's wild.
Incredible. And it's funny, Ben, because I mentioned in the intro, Lauren submitted that story as a YNAB win years ago.
Right.
And I went back and listened to it. It's episode 92. And coincidentally, it's the episode where we talk about tracking versus real YNABing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
But when
yeah.
I read the win, you were just like, your mind was blown at that amount of money that Lauren had paid off. So it was just kind of funny to go back
it's
and
a
listen
big deal when you put
Yeah.
those numbers down. I mean, like, so was that primarily from grad school or a little of both of?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was mostly from grad school. I didn't have any undergrad debt, so it was
Okay.
pretty much all graduate school debt. And it's one of those, hindsight 2020 where you're like, did I really need to take out all of that? But it's fine.
I
paid it
totally
off
get it.
now.
Well, it seems like such a great idea in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And then you're
Yeah.
like, well, maybe there was a different way, but it's all in the past now. You knocked it out and you
Yeah,
have the
it's
degree.
too late.
So
Yes.
what did you study?
Physical therapy.
Oh, physical therapy. Okay, perfect.
And Ben, in the email thread between Lauren and I, as we were getting ready for this episode, I promised her I would not dump all of my physical ailments on,
Oh, right. I
on her
remember.
during this episode. Yeah. So,
You've held back already. You're like, something's going on in my shoulder.
something's going
Yeah,
on
probably-
everywhere.
Could you?
So what I tell people when they ask me that is I always say, well, you should probably get that checked out.
Come to my office.
Yep,
Do you
yep.
do like are you like what kind of? Are you like in private practice or you work like in a nursing home? What do you do?
I actually work in the hospitals.
Okay.
So I would be completely useless to your problems anyways, unless you came into the hospital because you broke your leg, then I could help you. But
I feel like
I work pretty much. I pretty much work exclusively in the hospital setting. So like people who are hospitalized from being like sick or in a car accident or, those types of things.
I feel like every medical person, the people come to them and they're like, can you fix this? You're like, listen, I'm highly specialized here. I cannot help you. I mean, even me, like people are like, you're a finance person. How should I invest my money? I'm like, bro, I'm not going to answer that question. I am not qualified. Anyways, yeah, it's a thing for sure. Okay.
Well, Lauren, let's get into the reason that you're here. We're talking about YNABing as a single person. And you emailed us this idea a long time ago. And I was like, yeah, Ben and I will talk about it. And we did. Every person that says, hey, here's an idea, we consider it. But we didn't take any action on it. And then you followed up a little bit later. You're like, hey, I just want to connect.
You really should do this.
You really should do this. And I'm willing to come on the show. And I have to admit,
you made it so easy for us. You're like, I'm right here. I'm a single person right here. We can make it happen, right?
And I feel like I probably reached out again because I had probably listened to either an episode of yours or I listened to a few other finance podcasts where like 90% of the content is about people with partners.
Totally.
And so I'm just like, I can't relate to any of this.
Right,
like,
right. Yeah.
You have so much money.
Yeah, like double everything, right?
Yeah, because at first, I'll admit it, I was kind of like, well, I just don't know if there's anything here. Like, I don't really know how different it is than budgeting with another person. But you sent over some things to think about. And I really liked it. And so I just thought, hey, let's go for it. I think there's some value here. And yes, I mean, we don't explicitly talk about, YNABing as a couple, but Ben and I are both married. And so naturally, all of our stories kind of flow out of that. So I think it's going to be really good that we have another perspective, just kind of highlighting how it can be a little bit different, the pros and cons of both situations.
Yeah, for sure.
So should we get into it? We got a list of things, a numbered list as the internet likes. And then we're going to get into your categories and routines after that. So, but yeah, let's talk about this.
Okay.
So the first one here, and I think this is the biggest one, is higher fixed costs. When especially, I was looking through my categories and some of the big ones like housing. I mean, that is like,
it's the big ones, right?
That is the huge one right there. I mean, I was looking at what your rent is and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's way more than my wife and I pay for our mortgage. Now we're in completely different, sides of the state, but big difference.
Yes. Yeah. And so I think that's like, and obviously housing is like the biggest one, right? Where you're like, the per person cost is going to be higher when you're living by yourself. And you basically kind of have to either decide if you're going to just eat the cost yourself or like find a roommate or some other situation that makes it more affordable.
Right.
Like, for my, like if I have a 1-bedroom apartment, if you have a partner, you're obviously splitting that cost. And if it's just you, it's the same space, but the cost per person is double.
Yeah. And it's different. Like, I don't know. You get I feel like you could be hand waving and be like, oh, well, you could get a roommate. It's the same thing. And it's like, it's not the same thing because you have like almost like all of the negative things of like living with another person and like none of the good things of like being like life partnered with that person. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like I can imagine like, okay, you have a roommate but like, it's almost like your house is split and instead of like, it's all your shared thing. So like, you don't get as much utility out of your home having somebody who, you're not partnered with living with you. And and then there's also all the drama involved in that too.
Yes.
So,
because there's like, and I've had it I've done it in multiple ways where like either I lived by myself or sometimes I'll rent out to like, I've rented out to strangers before. And obviously that comes with issues of its own, whether they're just like, you just don't get along, you think they're weird, they think you're weird. And then there's also the risk of renting out to like a friend because it's like you may be great friends, but you may not live together very well. So you're almost like just risking the friendship. You're risking the friendship basically by deciding to live together. Which thankfully I haven't had that issue, but I will say I am moving actually, ironically, in like 2 to 3 weeks from the apartment I live in by myself, and I am now going to share a townhouse with a friend.
Oh, you are? Okay.
TBD on how that
we hope
friendship will work out. Fingers crossed.
Well, but that's interesting though. Yeah. What made you make that decision? Was it just like, was it purely finances, or was it like, no, actually, I think I could really jive with this person and it could work out?
I think both. We both are single and, in our early 30s. And I feel like we're both in a pretty similar place. We both work in healthcare and we've traveled together before, like taken trips together before, and that's gone well.
That's a good way to like try it out.
That basis of like, we've not killed each other on vacation. That's like a good kind of setup going into living together. And we both kind of were like looking to maybe financially give ourselves a little money back. And the way it's going to work out, I think I'm going to end up probably saving like $500 a month, and it's going to be a bigger space. And then my dog is getting older and I live on a 3rd floor apartment. So I'm ready to move to a place that doesn't have as many stairs. So
you're ready to kind of move anyway. And then you're like, well, this person, I'm traveling with them. I feel like if you can travel with someone and like get along, that's a pretty good sign you're going to be able to make it work. It's
a good test.
Yeah, yes, for sure. That's exciting.
I found like this, I told you I did all my research. So I found all of this, this data, and it was this MIT living wage calculator.
Oh, right.
And it says that they used this data from the state of Minnesota, actually, because they said it was considered like middle of the road for living expenses when you're looking at all 50 states. And it said that the average annual cost for a single person is about $5,500 more per year than for a partnered person.
Wow. Is that like everything, or is that like just housing?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so then when you add that up over the course of, 40, 50 years, that's like, $250,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other point here. Another unique challenge you mentioned is that overall increased financial burden on the single person. And I didn't know there was actually a number attached to that. That's quite a bit.
Right.
Yes. I also found when I was doing my research, I also found something that it talked about. There was some studies that look at the difference between wages. Obviously, there's the difference between male and female wages, which is fairly well documented, no matter how crappy it is. But then there's also some difference on whether the impact on wages, whether someone is single or married. So there was some data that I found that for women, there's little impact on wages when someone is single or married, but actually it said married men earn significantly more than any other demographic, meaning like more than single men or either married or single women. In fact, I said at their peak earning age, married men earn roughly $30,000 more than anyone else. So in partnered households with at least one male partner, the household wage will be significantly higher than that of a single woman, and even more than, if you have, 2 partnered women or anything like that.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see like it being a little bit of a bias, like, oh, well, this person has married or has a family, like they need the promotion because, or it could be like a push factor where it's like, well, I've got another person that is relying on me or I'm partnered with, and I want to do well for them, so I'm going to work harder. It could be a factor of a lot of things, but that's super interesting. So just by virtue of being married, whatever factor of those, whatever conglomeration of factors, you end up earning more than otherwise. So that's super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And something else I found a lot that was talked about was something that's kind of called like the gift tax, which is like, obviously we all have important people in our lives that are celebrating important events. And a lot of those events tend to be circled around family, whether that's starting a family, whether that's, getting married to someone, getting engaged to someone, having a baby, having another baby, that baby's birthday, that child's growing up and having birthdays and Christmases, et cetera, et cetera. And there's such an emphasis placed on that gift giving that, obviously we want to support our friends going through those different life experiences and what I'm going through. But I'm also paying for all of that by myself.
Right.
And so that ends up getting like really expensive. And especially I remember back when I was really going into debt, I was in so many weddings, and I was just like, going to bachelorette parties and I was
So
living
many
across the country from a lot
expectations.
of them at the time. Yeah. And so you're spending I'm dropping thousands of dollars. And I love these people, obviously. And I wanted to be there for them. But, I'm dropping thousands of dollars on a bridesmaid's dress, flying across the country for this bachelorette party and then flying back across the country for the wedding and then also sending a gift. And I'm like, my presents should be the gift. But
Right. It really should be. Like, we need to normalize
yeah.
that because I've already spent so much money to make it here. Like,
Yeah.
especially with
And,
people getting
and
married later, it's like, you don't need a toaster, like just,
right. Right.
just let me come party
Yeah.
with you. Right.
Yeah. So, and kind of going along that too, I feel like I've gotten a lot pickier as I've gotten older. Like I say no to a lot of wedding invites now, honestly, which
Yeah, I get that.
I feel sad about. Like I would love to be able to support and celebrate all of my friends and family as they're going through these times. But, based on my current financial circumstances and, where the wedding is, how much it would cost for me to get there. I just recently had to pass on going to a wedding of a close friend that I was really bummed about, but it would have just not been financially worth it for me, especially traveling by myself.
Yeah, it's too much. I get it.
Unique challenge number 3, no financial safety net.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So you've got 2 incomes, I guess. It's like, well, the cost of losing income is spread out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Whereas-
So I think, and this is something I've talked about with other folks, is that, you have that buffer of knowing that, if you lose your job, you're not immediately going to, be evicted or, be foreclosed on or be behind on your bills or not be able to buy food, etc. Obviously, you should have your savings already set up, especially, if you're following your YNAB method. But everyone has kind of a different amount of money saved, whether that's 1 month, whether it's 3 months, 6 months. And I think when you're single and you're budgeting by yourself, then you really have to push yourself to save more because
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, you're the only one who's going to be able to bail yourself out.
Well,
if
the
it came
risk
down
is
to it.
the risk is just higher, so the savings
Yeah.
to mitigate the risk needs to be higher too. And yeah, I mean, I think about a couple of years ago when my wife lost her job, we didn't feel like we needed to panic because we had savings to work with, but also we had my income still, so we could weather it a lot longer than we would have otherwise. And I was just when I was reading about this, I was just like, okay, what would it feel like if we both lost our jobs at the same time? Much scarier. Right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And that's a reality. If you're single. So yeah, that's
Reading-
definitely
Yeah.
a
Because I know
factor.
even right now, that the government shut down, given the time we're recording this, is the government's still currently shut down. I know there's been some people talking to me about, they've been, they're not getting paid or they're furloughed.
Right.
And so if you're single, you have a job, which is kind of a weird vibe, but you're
Yeah.
not getting paid. So it's you have to be depending on your savings. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to survive.
Yeah, it's definitely a big topic right now because a lot of people are facing that.
Reading this was a light bulb moment for me because Christy and I, we have a job loss category, but there really hasn't been any urgency to get that to the amount that I want it to be. And I think the reason is, I highly doubt we're ever both going to lose our jobs at the same time. So in the back of my head, I just know we have that safety net, that other
Right.
person's job.
Yeah. And you could say suppose you're in a partnership where only one person is working for money, and that's true. But I think it's true now more and more often. It's 2 income households most of the time, right? So this is definitely a difference that's going on right now for more people than ever before in history, I think.
All right, number 4, tax disadvantages.
Yeah.
Higher tax
Yeah,
burden, tax bracket for single individuals.
This was interesting to me. Yeah, there actually is. So we're talking about U.S. only here because we're Americans here. Sorry, folks. But yeah, looking at the tax brackets, you would think it would just be, it would just the tax bracket difference for single people and married people. You think it would just be the same going up, but it's actually slightly different as you go higher income. That's which I found really interesting.
Yeah. So the example I found was a married couple making a joint $100,000 a year. That you file as a married couple, you'll be in a lower tax bracket than a single person also bringing in $100,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so
And it's like
also
literally
think,
why,
there's also
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Like I'm just out here by myself trying to make
I know,
it.
I
Like,
know.
help me out.
Like, why shouldn't it just be the same? I don't, or even maybe even less. You know, it's just like I think I want to say I'm talking. We can cut this out if I'm completely wrong, but I want to say like there actually was a people call it a marriage penalty for a while, and then it was changed at some point recently, right?
Yeah, you're right. It was in 2017.
Yeah, so it's actually not even that long ago, but now there's actually a little bit of a tax advantage, just like the baseline tax advantage from the tax rates when you file jointly, where it's actually there actually is an advantage to filing jointly and when you're married, which I find really interesting.
Yeah, because I think prior to that, a lot of married people would file separately. Like,
Yeah,
because my parents would do that too because they said it saved them money to
yeah.
file separately.
If you're like in a complex situation
Yeah.
where you're not just taking like a standard deduction. Yeah, I remember people talking about like well, we're going to file separately because it's a little bit better, but that's changed. But maybe, but I think I find it funny. It's like, okay, like you changed it. Why don't just make it equal instead of changing it so one's better situation than the other again?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a million reasons, but yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah. Because the other tax advantage that I think there is out there is like owning a home. And like, you know, especially when you first go through with buying it and you like get all the tax credits and things like that. And just as a single person, like I almost feel like I'll never own a home.
Right.
And it's not, I'm not like super bummed about it right now because I'm not really in a place where I'm ready to want to make that purchase. But
With the situation is
I
now,
do think, like the situation is it's, you know, houses are really a lot more expensive. Interest rates are really high. And it's just a lot harder to afford it, even for a double income household, let alone for a single income household. So that's also kind of like a tax advantage that I feel like we're not really able to get as much of as a single person just because I can't afford to even get to that point.
Well, I mean, even separate from affording it, I wonder if there's, I could see like married folks being more likely to want to own a home, right? For lots of reasons. So that's something that, yeah, you got particular tax advantages because of that, and married people are more likely to own a home. So it just happens to help them more. So that's interesting too.
Right.
Yeah.
Unique challenge number 5, products and services cater to multiple people. Explain that.
Yes. So this is a lot of the times with like, okay, so my biggest example of this is I used to do those like meal delivery services like HelloFresh.
Yeah,
Not
I do
not
those.
an ad, but I do like HelloFresh. But I had to stop it because it was so, I mean, it's expensive. It is more expensive than groceries, I will admit, but I'm also lazy.
But you get
and cooking for one person is really stupid.
Yeah.
And,
right.
but HelloFresh, like the smallest it comes, and any meal delivery service is like that, is it's servings for 2 people.
Yeah.
So you can either order for 2 people or for 4 people. So when I would order the meals and I would cook this big meal, I would be like, now I have all this, you know, I have all this food. And sometimes depending on how many times a week I ordered it and like how many nights I had stuff already going on, it was like sometimes I felt like I didn't even have time to eat the leftovers, or by the time I would get to it, I would be like, is this still any good?
Yeah.
Like I don't give it like a little whiff because it's been sitting here for like a week.
And I can see.
So that's just like, that was like my main example. I did actually end up canceling my HelloFresh membership.
Yeah, it
not
makes
because
sense.
of that specifically, but just the cost in general.
Right. It makes sense because it's just like, I could see them saying like, well, it's not worth it for us to send, you know, a smaller amount of food and we won't make any money off of it. But it's like,
right.
But it kind of cuts out a whole customer base, you know, of single folks that want to cook just for them. I don't know, but you do have your roommate coming up, so maybe you could go in together with the HelloFresh.
Maybe.
But then that's a whole other thing too. It's like, okay, how much do you want your lives to line up? Because like being single is nice, so you know, now you got to like cook together, and that's a whole other thing too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the other thing is like a lot of like vacations and like travel stuff, I feel like is kind of built in as being together.
Yeah.
Like for example, I just booked this group retreat, like this kind of group like fitness geared retreat to Bali next year.
Nice.
Which I'm really excited about.
Way to go.
But so when I was looking at the cost, it's like you reserve your room, right? And there's like, you can either reserve like a single occupancy room or you can reserve like a double occupancy room where there's like, you and someone else are going to have the room together. Or you can do like where you basically sign up that you'll do a roommate, like a random person that also signs up for the same rate. And so obviously I picked the one where I'm going to be in a room by myself because yes, I want to make friends with these people.
What's the fastest way to ruin a vacation? Yeah, but like what if you get with somebody it's not good, not a good situation?
Right. Like if we don't vibe, we don't vibe. But then like if I have my own space and I can make the friends that I want to make with the group, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's like an extra like $750 or $1,000 just for me to have my own room.
Wow.
And so that kind of stuff, I feel like in general, when you're looking at booking, like, and it's like the same with kind of what we were talking about with like the higher fixed costs, where when you look at, like if I'm going to go, get a hotel or an Airbnb, if I'm traveling by myself, the same space that I'm paying for by myself would also normally be shared by like a couple traveling together.
Well, I can imagine it's just
and
like
splitting that cost.
It's frustrating because of the money, and it's also just like emotionally frustrating to be like everything's assuming it's two people all the time, and you're like, listen, I'm not. I'm on my own here, and it's just annoying, right?
Yes, and like I actually last year I backpacked through Europe for a month by myself.
Nice, way to go.
And I stayed in hostels because I was like, that's going to be the cheapest way for me to stay somewhere by myself, right? I did a few where I stayed in Airbnbs along the way. But for the most part, I was staying in hostels. And what I learned is that I will never do that again.
Oh, really?
Because I was 33 at the time that I did it. And I was like staying in these like 10 bed rooms with like 18 to 21 year olds.
They are not.
And I would be like curled up in bed at 8 p.m.
They don't value sleep as much as you do.
And they would be like having dinner, like not even being ready to go out for the night. And I would like get up early to go get all my steps in and see everything. And they'd be like just coming home. And I was like, this is just not.
It's not the vibe. It's not
different
the vibe.
wavelengths here.
It's very funny because I feel like that whole vibe of like staying hostels, I've heard I feel like I never hear anything in the middle. I hear people say, oh, it's awesome, it's perfect. And I hear people say, I'm never doing that again. It's like, that's probably the divide. It's like, what's your life situation? Are you a kind of person who wants to party all night? Or are you the kind of person that wants to go to bed at 8 p.m.?
Yes. And like, it was fine for a while I did it, but I definitely was like, no, there was a few of the hostels where it was like I didn't realize until I was staying there that it was more of like a party hostel, which is really not my vibe, especially at that, in my 30s.
It's not why you're there. Yeah.
No shame to, those 19-year-olds, but they were just in a different stage of life.
No shame to 33-year-olds who want to party all night. Like, go, bro.
Exactly.
Go for it.
You do you.
I think that's great.
But I'm going to go stay in my Airbnb by myself.
I love it. Yeah. All right. What else is on the list here?
Number 6, less opportunity for retirement savings. This was another one of those light bulb moments for me. I'm like, oh yeah, duh, of course.
Yeah, say more about that.
And I think this ties in a lot too, I think, with just like the higher financial burden and fixed costs too, because when you think about when you get to retirement, like if you are still single in retirement, you are not only going to be paying more to live in those years, and you're going to be living off of less money than partnered folks.
Yeah.
So you have less money in retirement and you're still paying more per person to live and exist in the world. So basically you're only saving for retirement on your own. You can't really pool resources or benefit from like a spousal or a survivor benefit. And then also like I didn't know this until I was researching this last night, but I found something that said that when you're collecting Social Security benefits, that individuals can choose to collect based on their work history or their spouses, depending on which one's higher. So that obviously disadvantages single folks because you only have your own work history to rely on. And it also disadvantages women who often earn less and therefore will likely have a lower Social Security benefit during retirement.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I feel like it's a lot of these laws are written in a different time when it was more common for one person in the household to work. So I could see that being a really legit thing at the time, but it is true. There's not like a reciprocal advantage for single folks. Like I don't think that it's wrong for married folks to have that advantage, but like there should be something to kind of compensate, if you're single. So it makes sense.
And it seems like there's just I mean, I have more options in retirement, I feel like,
That's
as
what it is.
married
Yeah.
person, because like we've got all these different accounts, and based on rules for the accounts and amounts and what we need, like I can kind of like optimize the withdrawings, but you're limited in options kind of if you just one person.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I
Yeah.
hadn't
So
thought
like,
of.
yeah, like I have multiple retirement accounts, mostly because I have multiple jobs, but I also, I have a Roth IRA, that I put money into my own, but like I probably put less into those as a single person than I would if I had a partner, because I need more like cash flow just to
Right.
live my life.
Yeah, because of the
Right.
costs.
So like I can like the less percentage, I can take less percentage out before I feel it in terms of what I need to just pay my bills and, the things I like to do.
Yeah, it's good. What else we got?
Final one. Unique challenge number 7. This is a big one. Lack of emotional support.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're
say more
just,
about
it's
that.
you. You're on your own.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to
I am
make
an
the
island.
decisions. How's
Yes.
how's that
And
feel? Yeah, tell us more about that.
I feel like this is one that I think a lot of people, like when single people talk about finances in general or budgeting, I think this is a one that a lot of us commiserate on. Because when you think about like who do you automatically go to talk to when you want to talk about your finances or like a financial decision you're going to make, most people who are in a relationship will say their partner.
Yeah.
Because that's who's going to be the most impacted by that decision, right? They're if not the most important person in your life. So you're obviously going to talk about big decisions with them. But, as a single person, we don't have that option. So we're basically just doing it by ourselves and trying to figure it out as best we can. You obviously can't. And when you do have like a decision that's really weighing on you, or you're in a really tough spot where like emotions are high already, you can't really let that like drown you or like overtake you, because you still have to like, make your car payment or pay your rent on time. Like you still have to like emotionally and mentally have the stability to like continue with life, because you're the only one taking care of those things for yourself. You can't really let yourself wallow in those moments. And like I have people that I'll bounce stuff off of, like my parents or like a friend or something like that. But it's hard not to let their opinions influence my decisions.
Right.
Because it doesn't affect them really at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So like they
different.
might have opinions, but it doesn't have that same, I don't know, it doesn't have the same validity, I don't think, because, they could be like, yeah, you should do that. But then if I do that and it, puts everything in like to crap, like they're just like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
Whoops and easy.
like now I'm living it. And so, and then there's also like some judgment. I feel like too, like you don't want people to judge you based on your situation.
Yeah,
there's
there's
like always some
privacy.
shame and embarrassment like associated with finances, which like I left that long ago. Like I talk about my very personal finance business with whoever wants to know, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of people who do feel like, shameful or embarrassed about their situation. So then they don't feel like they have anyone they can talk to about it because they don't want to get judged.
Well, I have the advantage of being able to talk about my finances with someone, with my partner, while also being able to feel like I have privacy at the same time, And for you, it's more like, well, if I want to talk about it, I have to kind of give up that privacy. Is that kind of what you're getting at there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like some people guard that privacy more closely than others, and
Totally.
that's perfectly valid and totally fine.
Yeah, it's
like, I'm
it's
just
kind
not
of
one of those
more. It's
people.
more of a trade-off. It's like, do I want someone to talk
Yeah.
to, or do I want privacy? Instead of, well, I kind of, and I guess you could argue, you still have to construct that kind of a relationship in a marriage too, and that takes work. But you have to construct that kind of relationship with people when there's not like the expectation that you're going to talk about this subject, And so it takes a lot of emotional work to build a relationship where you can talk about these things, and it's okay,
And- Yeah. And we all know, like, especially in adulthood, how hard it is, I feel like, to maintain those close friendships
Totally.
because we all start going down different life journeys. And, a lot of my very close friends live in different parts of the country. We don't actually physically see each other very often a year. And so it takes effort. Like, it takes a lot of work to maintain those close friendships and be able to have those relationships that you can then rely on when you need to talk to someone about something like this, especially something as private as this
Yeah.
or possibly shameful.
Yeah. And there's
and
a
I
lot
think-
of kinds of marriages. So I'll just like speak to my marriage, but like the expectation is that we're going to our values are going to grow and change together because we're going to talk about those things. And so I can talk to somebody about my finances who is very much in line as far as our values, and it's like built into my life, right? Whereas there's no expectation talking to your parents or a friend about your finances that you have the same values at all. So you have to like look through this filter of like, okay, well, they gave me this advice, but their values are different, right? So I have to kind of filter all the discussion through that. And so it's just a lot. It's all more complicated.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah. And I think there's also like kind of this emotional struggle for some people too, especially seeing other people do things that you like either know you can never afford or like, you just feel like you'll never be able to do on one income. And I think a lot of that comes with just like the culture of social media and like everyone posting everything and seeing what always, so-and-so and her boyfriend are on this trip and like I could never afford to do that because it's just me, or, so-and-so is doing this with their partner, and just kind of like seeing all of that happen and just like emotionally feeling like I'll never get there because I'm just barely getting by myself. I personally don't feel that way because obviously I'm going to Bali, but like but I did feel that way for a long time when I was struggling early on.
Totally.
And I do think a lot of other people feel that way. And that's, again, totally valid.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. I love that. That's really important to say.
Well, speaking of privacy, should we open up your YNAB?
Let's end all your privacy right now.
Expose
No.
your categories to everyone?
I am an open book.
I love it.
Well, let's do it.
Let's look at your categories. Let's do it.
Why don't you tell what credit cards are you a credit card churner? I mean, you do a lot of traveling,
Yes.
so okay.
Yes. So I didn't, obviously when I was in $25,000 of credit card debt, I stopped using my credit cards.
Okay.
So there was a time after that where I was very much just like afraid to go back to
I
it.
can understand
because I was
that,
like, what if I can't personally like hold back and I just put myself back in debt again?
Right.
But using YNAB and like having the credit card feature to be able to see like, okay, no, I've budgeted for this money. So now I do basically essentially what Ashley All said she did in the podcast I just listened to, that I treat my credit cards like a debit card.
Exactly.
And I just pay them in full every month.
It's
and
just
so
a payment method, really. And
yes,
that's all
I
it
have
is.
5 credit cards.
Okay.
Most of them are travel cards. I opened an Apple card only because I had to get a new laptop and they let me do like an interest-free 12-month payment.
Nice.
Instead of paying however much up front. So that's really the only reason I have that card. I'll probably close it. But the other ones I have, like a Southwest credit card. I have the Chase Sapphire, which is very popular.
Yep.
I have like a bank credit card through USAA. And then I have a hotel credit card with it's with IHG, which is like the owner of like Holiday Inns.
Got
Nice.
it. So those are right at the top of your plan then. Okay.
Yes.
I was going to say, well, you should keep that Apple Card because you get like instant imports into YNAB with Apple Card, but you don't care about that. So.
I don't.
That's right.
Cool. Okay.
Never seen it.
Yeah, you're like, I don't even know how it works. So, cool.
All right. The next one is the monthly bills one.
Yeah. Okay. Let me find that here. There we go. Okay.
And the first one you have the rent, $21.91. That's again, we've talked about this. That's a lot. That's more than my mortgage in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yes. And I will say that is a 2-bed, 2-bath apartment.
Okay.
So obviously, like if I wanted to downgrade and live in a 1-bed, 1-bath, it would be more affordable. But honestly, like it was not that much cheaper. Like I think the 1-bedrooms in my complex go for maybe like a little under 2,000, like 1,800 or something like that.
I was going to say it's probably not that much of
cheaper.
a difference. And then now you have like a separate room.
So I have like a guest room, and I did rent it. I have rented it out a lot before.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like I've rented out to like short-term renters. My mom lived with me for a while, made her pay rent, obviously. Even after she bailed me out a few years ago, I still had to pay rent.
Well, sometimes it's for the best for a lot of reasons. Yeah.
But yeah, so I've had a lot of people like stay there or just like friends visiting into town. So that's been nice. So it hasn't always only been me. I have had roommates throughout the years that I've lived here. But yes, it is pricey, which is why I'm moving.
Yeah.
And
You're moving. Yeah.
I'm noticing that you've put the amounts in the category name. Are you not using targets?
I do use targets,
Okay.
but I put the amounts and the due date in the category name just as like that's how I order them as well in this category, is by what day they're due.
I see that. Yeah.
And that way, as I'm filling in for like, because I'm the person who I put money into next month.
Yep.
Like I don't have a like holding category or anything. And so when I go to next month, I want to look to see like, okay, this is how much I need by this day, like in the category, like reading it as well as like clicking on the category for like underfunded.
Totally.
I like having both.
Yeah, I think you see folk. I if I ever see a list of categories and I see amounts in the category name, I'm like, this is an OP YNABer. Like this is like this is like a OG is what I meant. Like you've been using YNAB a long time because I feel like it's like a holdover from before when you didn't use targets targets weren't as robust as they are now. So yeah, I always see it, I'm like, oh yeah, this person's been YNABing a long time. Totally. All right, CrossFit. So you do CrossFit. Okay.
I do CrossFit.
Are you
yes,
like
I'm one of those
super
people.
into it? Or are you like, oh yeah, I do CrossFit. It's whatever.
I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by super into it. Probably to a non-CrossFit person, they would say, yes, I'm super into it.
Okay.
But when you compare me to like other people at my gym,
Some people it's like a
maybe
religion.
not as much.
You know?
Yeah. Like I go like 3 or 4 times a week.
Cool.
That's like my main source of exercise.
And is that like
so
do you work out with like a group of people?
typically.
So it's like a community.
Like the classes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's really special.
And so so the CrossFit community is a lot bigger of a deal than like the workouts themselves. Like
That's
it's
the vibe I
very
get.
much about it's very much about like the people you meet and like the friendships that you make and
yeah.
the gathering together.
Yeah, doing it, and
so-
you bond through trauma, right? So,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
I feel like it's a pretty good price for
Yes.
CrossFit because I feel like it gets pricey because there's so much equipment with CrossFit, right? And
Yes, and that's an unlimited membership, so I can
Nice.
go as many times a month as I want.
that seems pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah,
And renter and car insurance. Oh, so you put those together? Is it just like one payment for you?
just insurance. Yeah, they're together.
Yeah.
I actually recently, within the last year, I shopped around, and this is gonna make me sound like a straight up commercial, but I
That's
switched
all right.
to Geico and I saved 50%.
I love
I
it.
told someone else that recently, and they were like, "Are you on TV right now? What is happening?"
I
but
need
it's
to
true
do
because I
this.
did actually shop around and I got all the rates, and it was really annoying because they kept calling me for like a week straight because I would, do the free quotes online.
Right.
But
I need to
when
do this.
I cut my bill like in half because I was paying like $160, $170 a
Wow.
month, and I just thought that was fine. And I've been doing it for years and years and years. And then when I finally shopped around, I was like, dang, I've been slacking.
Well, I've been doing the
So,
same insurance, like all of it, the same company for like
Yeah.
15 years. I really need to do this
Yeah.
because I know
You
how
need to
this
do that too.
works. I know how this works.
Yes.
You get a better deal if you move around. And I wish it
Yes.
wasn't that way. I wish it was like,
I know.
like back in like the 50s, like you worked at one job your whole life and you had one insurance guy your whole life, but it's not like that anymore. And I've been saying
No,
for
it's
years, I
definitely
should
not.
probably shop around, but it sounds like such a pain. I don't want to.
Well, here's your reminder because it literally
Yeah.
saved me like
Half.
$80 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's
and
worth it.
I've used the new insurance. I've used it like because here in Arizona, we get full glass coverage here because like rocks are flying everywhere in the desert.
Mhm.
And so I've used my new insurance, and I was a little worried when I first got it. Like, is it going to be as smooth? Is it going to
Right.
work out? But like everything's on an app now, so it's honestly very
It's
easy.
almost like a
and so
commodity.
it all was fine.
It's almost like a commodity
Yeah.
at this point. Yeah. So, and then you got your streaming services: Hulu, Cox, Netflix.
Yes.
All right. There you go.
Yes. So that's basically any like internet or like TV streaming service kind of just lumped in there.
Yeah, I lump it all
So,
together
'cause
too.
I don't do cable, but my internet is Cox.
Okay.
And then
Oh,
the other
okay.
ones
So
are
that's-
just like my
Internet
so then,
services,
like, internet-
I guess. Yeah.
internet services, and then Hulu and Netflix, of course.
And then you got iCloud just by itself, $1.07.
Yeah, it's my sad little. It's really easy to fund, which always makes me feel good about myself.
Like it's a whole
if I have,
category
like,
funded. It only costs you $1.
Like if I have a very small amount left and ready to assign, I'll be like, oh, I can assign the iCloud. And it's just like paying for extra storage.
yeah, I do
like,
iCloud as well.
in the cloud.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like it's nice.
It's just all on its own there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's another sign of a budget nerd. When I see a single category for like an amount that small, I'm like, yep.
You gotta
I see
account
you.
for everything, And I
Yeah.
can see like
Yeah.
because I could see you do like you could put iCloud and Kindle Unlimited. You could put all that into the Hulu category if you wanted to, but like
Yeah.
they're different. Like this is entertainment stuff. Well, although you do have internet in there, which I find
As-
interesting, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say I probably could lump all of those together. It wouldn't really be that much big of that big of a difference because the Kindle Unlimited is also only like $13.
But then you wouldn't have the fun thing where you could, I don't know. It's kind of cute.
Yeah.
It just feels kind of cute to put $1.07 in a category.
Yeah.
What's really cute
Yeah.
is when you're like, I'm funding like my 2-year-old daughter's wedding, and I'm putting like $4 a month into a category. Like when you're doing like a really far out thing. I see this all the time. People are like, and I'm like, part of me is like, yes, you go, and part of me is like, okay, this is a little silly. But
Yeah. It's hard to see that far out.
I know, right? Because it's like, who knows? But yeah, there's all sorts of stuff like that. All right. So we talked about iCloud and Kindle Unlimited. Tell me about Kindle Unlimited. Do you like it? Let's be more commercial again here.
Yes. More advertisements. So I got a Kindle like 3 or 4 years ago, and I have really gotten back into reading, because I found that Kindle Unlimited makes it a little bit more financially accessible for me to read more books, because I pay $13 a month and I can access all of these books for that $13 a month that are in the Kindle Unlimited library, which obviously that has its restrictions. It's not all of them.
Right.
But I find that the ones that I can't find in Kindle Unlimited, if there's a book I want to read, I can find it at the library.
Right.
So
yeah, it's funny.
that's like the combo that I do, so that I don't have to buy a book every single time I want to read it, because that I feel like is where it gets expensive for people who like to read.
Right. Oh yeah. No, we don't buy things. We don't buy books like crazy. It's just we have like we have like, we go through the apps for all the library apps, and like we have like a library card for every place we've ever lived, and so you can, but it's kind of a pain because sometimes you have to wait and this whole thing's up. And now my kids are like constantly wanting like graphic novels on the iPad and stuff, and we get through Kindle store. So anyways, I'm just like, maybe we should go for that, and that, we can get it for free.
I mean,
with through libraries,
and I really like it.
But it might be nice to just have it be convenient. So I don't know.
I will say it's also nice for traveling. Like if I have a long haul flight, and I just will download like 3 or 4 books on my Kindle Unlimited, and then you're not having to like physically pack a book.
Oh yeah.
I just pack my Kindle and it has multiple books in it.
There you go.
So then it helps me, like passing the time on the plane or on a train or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for Bali.
Yeah. That'll be a long flight.
Yeah, for sure. All right, then we should probably go a little faster. We got the Roth IRA, $50 going in there. Electric, and then just basic stuff. Electric, gas, groceries. What is
Courage is my dog.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't know. So I was like,
yes.
What is? I was like, this must be
I know,
something
it probably
crazy.
sounds really weird by itself.
This must be something
Courage
like
is my
real
dog.
wild.
He's staring at me right now. He's like, you're talking about me.
Oh.
Yeah. So I have, you'll see there's another category for him. I have like a separate vet bill category, but for the Courage category, it's like his food, his treats.
Wasn't there like
his
a
medication?
old like Cartoon Network show called Courage
the Cowardly Dog.
Courage the Cowardly Dog. Is that what it's named for?
Yeah.
Oh man.
No. I
just
so
thought
he
of
was
that.
named that at the shelter.
Okay.
Because he like had a lot of medical problems, and so they named him Courage because he was like all courageous,
I love
and
that.
he was at the shelter for a really long time.
Okay.
And then I just didn't change it because he was at the shelter for 9 months,
That
being
just
called Courage.
That just lit something
But
in
it's
the
very ironic
recesses
now
of my
because
brain.
he's a very anxious dog, and he's really not courageous at all. So it's kind of an ironic name, and it really does fit with Courage the Cowardly Dog because he's fairly cowardly.
I'm all for ironic pet names. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that's that. And then after that is the flexible categories.
Sweet. So this is all stuff that's like different. It's like different amounts every month, and it's kind of like,
yeah. So like I have a goal or a target to set, so much aside based on how much I usually spend, but it's, generally just like, sometimes I'll spend nothing, sometimes I'll overspend it. It just depends on.
And
the
I
month.
imagine these are categories you use to cover overspending a lot, like kind of move money around between them, or is that?
Yeah, they can be.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. All right, so we got personal care, hygiene, all that fun stuff. Is that like all like just like stuff from the store, or is that like, do you go get?
Yeah, it's like, no, that's more just like skincare or like soap, shampoo. Yeah, just like basic like personal stuff, or like if I need to buy, toothpaste or whatever. that all goes in there.
That's all.
So
my
you must
sundries.
enjoy the split transactions then, because you're making a lot of them.
Oh
I
yeah,
guess.
there's the hint there. Yeah. So when you go to a grocery store,
Yes.
are you splitting food from all that other stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And I have like a Target red card, a debit card. So like I do a lot of my, I do some
yeah.
grocery shopping at Target. So I'll do some groceries at Target, but then I get a lot of my like personal or home supplies, like the next category, like the home and cleaning supplies, whether it's like, like laundry stuff or cleaning supplies. Like I'll get a lot of that from Target and then just split that whole transaction.
I hear Target will put it in categories in the receipt. Is that right? Are they still doing that?
They do
Yeah,
categorize. They do categorize
Does it
your
match
receipts,
with your categories ever, or is it never?
Sometimes.
Yeah?
Sometimes.
That's cool.
Although sometimes like when you look at the receipt, like if I wait too long, it'll just say like up and up. And I'm like, that's like the Target. That's like the Target brand. But like it doesn't say what it is. And I'm just like, okay.
That's funny. I'll tell you what I do nowadays. I do like all my groceries, not all, but almost all our grocery spending is like we buy it online and do a pickup because we have 4 kids and it's just, no, I'm not going into a store. Sorry, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And so what I'll do is I'll go online, like I'll like at the Walmart or something. We got a bunch of stuff and I'll select everything on the list. And I'll copy it and put it into ChatGPT and say, hey, separate the non-food items out of this and give me a selected total. And it does it. So I can split transactions that way.
Wow.
It
Wow,
works
that's nerdy.
really well.
That's really
It works
fancy and nerdy.
Yeah, so it's just like give me the food items, give me the non-food items.
Yeah.
And yeah, it works perfectly. So there's a little tip for you if you ever need to help split those transactions. But it only really works if you have, well, I guess you could take a picture of a receipt and send it to whatever AI you're using and do it. But yeah, pretty cool.
All right, what else do we have here in Flexible?
Cleaning and home supplies. So that's pretty basic stuff. Coffee. So is this like coffee out or coffee you buy in or both?
No, I don't. It says coffee, but it's basically just like, like sugary coffee flavored drink from Starbucks.
Okay.
Like, that's
Got it.
basically what that means.
The good stuff.
I basically use that to like reload my Starbucks card. Or like if I'm gonna go to like like another coffee shop or something, like it'll come from this.
Okay. They got regular.
Because I do get a morning coffee pretty much every day before work.
Good for you.
And then my dog is a big pup cup fan, so
Oh, yeah,
okay.
got to get the pup cup.
yeah, yeah.
I love it. They got regular
And then
soda as opposed to like
Yes.
the weird soda, or is it like baking soda and regular soda? Tell me.
So I made this category like years ago in the hopes of cutting my consumption of like non-diet soda. So like I'm like I drink coffee here and there, but my biggest vice has always been soda, specifically Dr. Pepper.
Me too.
And
I haven't had a Dr. Pepper in years and years, but I'll grab a diet Dr. Pepper.
I'm very proud of you.
Whoa.
So
it's sad. It's a sad time, but
I used to have like multiple a day of just like Dr. Pepper. And then I was like, okay, I need to get better about maybe doing like Dr. Pepper Zero or Diet Dr. Pepper or whatever. And so
it's not,
now
everybody says it tastes the same.
home,
It doesn't taste the same.
It's not.
It's not the
It's not.
same.
So in my home, I only keep Dr. Pepper Zero like in my apartment.
Okay.
So like if I want a soda while I'm home,
That helps.
I have to drink that.
Yeah.
So the regular soda category is I tell myself I will only get regular soda if I am out and I'm going to buy it.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's what that category
So you'll
is for.
separate, like at a restaurant, you mean? So like you'll.
Not necessarily if I'm going out to eat.
Okay.
Like I'll just roll that in.
Okay.
But like if I'm at Target buying groceries and then I walk by the checkout and they have Dr. Pepper there, I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, you mean like
Dr.
just
Pepper.
grabbing out of a little fridge?
I will break that out.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
that out.
Yeah. So you're.
So it's kind of like
so
a
you
bit
must
of a
have
health
like
accountability
1,000
thing.
splits on these things, but yeah, that's good. You can kind
Yeah.
of track like how much am I doing this?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, but the motivation here is for some sort of lifestyle change, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Yes.
you're using that
It's not like
category
money.
for. I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
Yes.
Super interesting. Okay. I love that regular soda.
But yeah, it sounds really weird, even though for me, I'm like, it's always been there.
Yeah, you're like, this isn't weird. But I was so
No.
curious. As I was going through, I was like, okay, I gotta ask about that.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
also the wax. So is this for personal care waxing?
Yeah, like eyebrow wax.
Yeah, that
like,
kind of
yeah,
stuff. Okay.
that's basically because I go like every 6 weeks. So I try to like, just like have a monthly amount set aside
Okay.
to
I was like,
cover it
it's
when I go
either
every
that
6 weeks.
or you have a cool like candle making hobby or something. So I was like, which one is
I'm
it?
not that cool. I'm not that cool.
Okay. Random stuff that's just like a catch-all, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about margin.
So I usually try to keep like $300 in there
Mm-hmm.
as like a just in case something goes wrong. Right now it's empty because I just came back from a trip.
Because something went wrong.
But,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
But in the past, I will say the most that I used that category for was a speeding ticket.
Oh, okay. I see. So it's just kind of like it's kind of like a stuff I forgot category almost.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But like I just try to always keep $300 in it.
Yeah.
Because I felt like that was a good amount because it was just more than the cost of a speeding ticket.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's kind of
and
perfect.
it was
yeah.
like anything that went over by a little bit in the past, like I could generally like, $300 would be more than enough to cover it if I didn't have enough in the category already. So that's what that category is for.
Perfect.
But I try not to use it.
Okay. And then work items, is that like reimbursements and stuff like that?
No, it's usually like if I need to buy new scrubs
Oh, okay.
or like there's certain things I'll buy for work. Like I have like a portable pulse oximeter, which is like like an oxygen measurement, like the one you put on your finger.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So like I buy that out of pocket to like carry around with me at work. So it's just like the little stuff like that. I don't use that one very often either because I mostly already have all my scrubs and all
Right.
that.
Yeah. It's just if anything comes up. And do you separate that for like tax reasons or is it just to have
No.
a category for it? Yeah.
Just to have a category for
That
it.
makes
Yeah.
sense. Cool. All right.
Then we got the true expenses group.
Yeah.
Yes.
Car maintenance.
Name. Yeah, I was gonna say the name came straight from YNAB.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
This was a default in 2019 for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. All the usual suspects here. You got car maintenance.
Yes.
Car replacement. How's that going? How soon are you needing a new car situation? Because I'm, I'm in that
I was
right
gonna say,
now.
I really depleted that fund when I did a couple trips recently.
That's what
like
I
that Europe
always
trip
went
I
to
went
the
on
car
last year
replacement.
really depleted me. Yeah. Because it had a lot in it. It had like thousands in it, and now
Yeah.
it's not.
Now I'm regretting it because I don't know, for some reason I'm
Yeah.
just like always going for, I don't really care about cars
Yeah.
and I kind of resent having to put money into a car replacement category, and so I feel like for me and my wife it would be the go-to place.
Yes, it's easily stolen.
Yeah, yeah.
My car is a 2017, so and it's paid off.
got a
and
while.
It doesn't have a lot of issues. So I'm a kind of person who I will drive my car until it dies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I enjoy having no car payment. So
There you go.
I don't put money in the car replacement until we're actually considering a new car.
Yeah.
Or
fair.
if the car maintenance gets to a point where we've gotten really lucky, haven't had repairs, and I'm looking at that category thinking we've got a lot of extra here.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I see. Yeah, I mean, I do put I think I put like 175 a month into a new, so it's a good amount, but it's not really
Yeah.
even enough to like what we're doing now is saving up for a new van now, and
Yeah.
it wasn't nearly even close to enough. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of a hybrid between like saving for it and also when the time comes, just sprinting for it. So
I've just always had a
Yeah.
problem saving for long-term goals if I'm not actually giving a rip about those,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
It's
doing
tough.
something because I have to do something, like, I'll find
Yeah.
something else to do
when
with
it's
that
really
money
long
instead.
term,
Yeah. No, that's fair.
All right, continue education. You got a lot of that for your job, I'm sure, right?
Yes. So for my license, I have to maintain some continuing ed. And one of my jobs, I do get reimbursed. So sometimes I will get money back into this category.
That's cool.
Nice.
Home decor and improvement. That's good. I guess you'll be using that a lot soon when you move, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably. I will say, like, I don't use this category a lot just because, like, I live in an apartment,
Right.
and my
There's only so
townhome,
much.
I'm renting that too. So that there's not like I'm not going to be fixing up someone else's stuff for free,
Right,
So
right.
I'm not really like trying to put a lot into this category. So I think it's empty
More
right
on
now,
the
honestly, because
decor
I
than
just
on the
I
improvement,
take from it.
I guess.
Yeah.
And then medical, pretty self-explanatory. Moving
Mm-hmm.
expenses. Oh, that's a temporary one for you now?
That must be a new one, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to save towards for my move in like 2 weeks. So
Okay.
Okay.
yes.
Taxes. Just any other taxes that isn't normally withheld, I guess.
So that's like I paid for someone to do my taxes
Ah,
every
okay.
year. And so I put money towards paying them to do it, but then I also include if I owe any money to in federal or state taxes, I try to lump all that into that category so that way I can pull it all from there.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Technology stuff, technology stuff, just cords
Yes,
and
very-
random nonsense.
It's mostly like and it's like replacement too. So like if I need to buy like a new charger, or like this last year I got a new laptop and a new phone. And so like all that came from there. And like I said, I got that Apple card, so I'm making monthly installment payments on the laptop every month. So that comes out of that category as well.
Cool.
I like that category. That's something that I think I could implement into mine, because every time we're always buying like chargers, cables, mesh network stuff, like, and I'm just finding these random categories to put it in. Why not just have a technology stuff?
I have a technology category. It's very helpful. I think we have like a certain amount. I think it's you guys one of those fill up to targets. So it's just nice to have money. Like I need like a HDMI cord or some nonsense like that, right? If it's something big, like if I'm buying a new phone or something, I'll have a separate category that I save for that. But just for random little things, it's nice to have for sure.
Yeah.
And then vet bills, pretty self-explanatory as well. So how is that distinguished from the courage category? Like is courage for like food and toys, and this is for like medical stuff for the dog?
So pretty much anytime I go to the vet and for like any sort of appointment or anything like that, like if I'm just picking up meds, the medication goes under courage.
Oh, okay.
Because he's on medication, so he's a special boy. But the vet bills is specifically like if I'm going to the vet to do, a visit or something like that. Like I'm actually saving up because I need to get a dental cleaning under anesthesia soon.
Oh boy.
So I'm saving up for that in that category.
Gotcha.
Because he's getting to the point where they said he's going to be too old to go under anesthesia soon. So if I want to do one, because I've never done a dental, and I brush his teeth, but
how old is he now?
He's 11.
Oh yeah, it's an old pup. Yeah. Okay. All right. What else we got? What's next?
Then we got the giving group.
Oh yeah, I love it. Okay.
Monthly donation, gifts for others, Arizona tax credits, and Christmas gifts. So 4 categories there.
Yes. So this category group was one that I very intentionally wanted to make larger once I paid off debt, like trying to take more of my cash flow to do towards giving. Specifically the monthly donation, I try to set aside just $25 a month and just donate it to like something.
Okay.
It's not specified ahead of time. It's just like, if some sort of like fundraiser is going on that I heard about, like I'll donate that money to it. Or if nothing comes up, then I'll just donate it to like, my local animal shelter or some other organization that's close to my heart.
So you don't let that build up. Like, you just you donate.
I try to donate
something
it every month.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
And
nice.
And then the gifts for others, that's like exactly what it sounds like. So the gift tax that I was talking about earlier. So like all of the wedding presents that I'm giving and cards, birthday gifts, baby showers, all that kind of stuff comes from that category. Like if like recently my mom's birthday, and so I like got her a card and took her out for a meal. So that all came from that category.
Nice.
And then Arizona tax credits. This is something really specific to Arizona. So there's like charitable tax credits that you can get they'll match you dollar for dollar if you make certain amounts of donations to qualified charitable organizations.
Awesome.
So there's one group of just regular charitable organizations, and then there's another one that's like specific to foster care for the state of Arizona. And the amount that you can pay in and get back dollar for dollar varies based on if you're single or partnered. And so I save up to meet that maximum for the year. So I think it's like a total of about $1,000 that I donate between the two types of organizations, but then I get exactly $1,000 back on my state tax return
it's like a tax
the following
credit,
year.
not like a deduction.
Okay. Yes, it's a full tax credit. Yeah,
That's awesome.
So I save up throughout the year just to make the donation, because then I get the money back.
Yeah, you might as well
on my tax credit, and then I can give to and I always do like I'll pull up the list of organizations and I'll do the research on like which one I want to donate to this year.
That's awesome.
Or sometimes I keep the same one I do from the last year.
Nice. All right, folks, if you live in Arizona, follow Lawrence, because you're going to get the money back. So you might as well make it happen.
Because usually like even if I end up owing a little bit in federal, I'll get a large state return back, mostly just because of that tax credit.
Okay. What's the term for that? So if somebody lives in Arizona, they should look that up.
It's like Arizona. I feel like if you just Google Arizona charitable organization like tax credit, it'll probably come up, because there's several websites about it.
Yeah, so that sounds like a great opportunity. I love that.
Yes. And then Christmas is Christmas.
Christmas is Christmas. There you go. Do you, when you get to, this is like more of a routine question, when you get to Christmas, do you just spend it all out of the Christmas category? Or do you like separate it out for like, because we always like have a list of all the people we want to buy for, and then I like separate it out. So I say, well, I like this person $40 worth, but I only like this person $20 worth, Or do you just spend it all out of the
monetary amounts of relationships? No, I just pull it all out from there because I mean,
cool.
there's very few people that I still buy Christmas presents for. It's mostly like immediate family, like my
Gotcha.
parents and my brother, and then maybe like a friend, a close friend or two. But I generally don't buy a lot of Christmas gifts,
So you keep it
and
simple.
so I keep it pretty simple.
Yeah, we've got a large assortment of of random little. Well, there's just a lot of kids in our life, so that's mostly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. All right, fun stuff. So this is just
Yes.
anything I guess it's kind of like the variable, but it's more fun instead of just instead of
It's the fun stuff.
instead of necessary,
Ideally.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Ideally, fun stuff.
Uh-huh. So we got eating out. It's pretty self-explanatory. Other fun things. Tell us about that. Just catch all.
Yeah, just a catch-all. Like if I'm gonna buy like tickets to something, or like if I'm gonna, a lot of times if I have to like take an Uber to go somewhere, I'll
Okay.
put it under that.
Yeah, I like that.
If it's like for an event, like I'll put the Uber cost in there too. But yeah, anything I'm just like going out, like I'm gonna go to the zoo, or I'm gonna go, to on any sort of like outing that's not part of like a bigger trip. It usually goes under this category.
Okay. And clothing and shoes and stuff. Interesting you put that under fun instead of like the more necessities. Is that because you particularly enjoy that, or is that just what your head says?
That's just what my head says. And I also don't honestly spend out of this category very much. Like I'm not a very big shopper, other than like I buy a lot of workout clothes, but that's just because I like, I work out a lot.
Yeah.
But in general, like other than that, like my outfits and it takes me a long time to, like, the only reason I threw away the shoes that I just most recently had, they had holes in them already. But what was then like the last nail was I stepped in dog poop.
Oh no. Yeah.
Like then I finally threw them away.
You're like,
but like
"Fine,
before that, I was
I'm
like, I was just
done."
gonna keep wearing them. Like
When you said the final nail, I thought you were gonna say I stepped on a nail or something.
I have done that before,
Yes.
but not this time. No, this was dog poop.
Yeah. All right. Then you got dating categories. Is that just any kind of dates that you go on, like separate from eating out?
Yeah, that category is not my favorite, but and it's under fun just because it feels like that's where it's supposed to be. But
Sure.
if you've talked to anyone who's single right now, dating is not fun.
Yeah.
So, and it's I never know how much to put in it because it really just depends. Like if it's a first date, like are we gonna go Dutch or is he gonna
never
pay?
know.
Or and so
I
I
know it's
never really
awkward. You
know.
can't
So, like if I'm gonna
ask.
go on a
Like-
date, no.
Right. Yeah.
So if I'm gonna go on a date, like I'll usually just put like a little money in there, and I tend to, especially for first dates, I tend to do fairly like let's get coffee or like a drink
Sure.
because I don't want to sit down and be committed to like a full meal for 2 hours in case I don't like them.
Right.
So
I think
so
that's
generally
wise.
it's not like a super expensive outing, even if I do have to pay for my own.
So that's more of a just fund it when you need it kind of a thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So you play tennis and golf. This is interesting.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. So tennis I played in college and
Okay.
I've been playing recreationally like and competitively my whole life. So I still do like leagues every week, especially here in Arizona. Obviously there's a lot of tennis out here.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot
so I
of
do
golf
that.
too, ironically. Like you wouldn't expect
There is
it.
a lot of golf.
But yeah, it's a thing.
I don't play as much golf now as I used to, but I still like own my clubs. I played in high school.
Mhm.
I'll play for fun maybe like once or twice a year. I would love to do more, but it's just a big time suck. So
Huge time
Yeah,
suck.
Yeah.
Ernie's a golfer. Yeah. So
yeah. Like I'll go to the driving range more often than I'll play 18 or even 9 just because, I can go to the driving range for 30 minutes an hour and
Yep.
be on your way versus like when you play the 18, it's like at least 4 hours.
Oh my
So,
goodness. Yeah, I got out probably, I think 3, maybe 4 rounds this year because of that time commitment, but I got to the range every single week. I just
yeah.
take off on a Thursday and it was great.
nice.
And
Yeah.
you're in Arizona, you get to do this year round as well.
Yes.
That's
we
pretty
do.
cool.
nice.
Yeah, I actually live right off a golf course. So
Very nice.
Then you got CrossFit and gym things. So I'm sure there's lots of random knickknacks and stuff, right?
yeah, just like shoes or like
Mm-hmm.
I wear like grips for the pull-up bar.
Mhm. I just bought a
just
pair of
like-
lifting gloves today because mine are
Yeah.
falling apart completely. So
Yeah. Or like I have like tape for my thumbs when I'm doing like Olympic lifts on the barbell.
Okay.
So yeah, just like random stuff like that will go in there. But that's also like kind of like a fund it as I need it type of category.
I feel like we're learning so much about you. Races and competitions. Are you a runner too? Man, you are.
Not really. It's gonna sound like I am right now because I'm actually running my first and only marathon.
And only you're like, I'm doing this one time.
In about,
Okay.
yeah. Yes.
Good for you.
In 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
So,
you've been training,
yes,
I'm sure.
Wow.
I have. I ran 20 miles on Sunday.
Way to go.
And that was my longest run I've ever done. I'm not a distance person. I'm very slow. But
That's all right.
my goal is just to finish it, and then I'm never going to do it again because it's terrible and I hate it.
Good for you.
You might surprise yourself.
Like I do 5Ks more often. Like those I'll sign up for because I don't really have to train for those.
That's fun for the camaraderie and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, especially like, if charitable organizations that I support are doing a 5K, like I'll go do that. So that's mostly where that comes from. I used to do some CrossFit competitions too for fun. So that also would come from there. But lately I've gotten more into volunteering at the competitions.
Okay.
So I don't have to pay for it and I still get the shirt.
You still get the shirt. Yeah, there you go. And it's in the community, which is great.
Yeah.
CC classes. Tell us about that.
Credit card classes?
No, it's a community college classes.
Oh, nice.
So a couple years ago, I took a Spanish class online through a local community college.
Cool.
In Arizona, there was a lot of Spanish, and I do speak Spanish, and I speak a lot of it. I do practice a lot with my patients at work.
Right.
But I feel like there's always room for improvement. And so I was like, I'm just going to go back and take a class. And let me tell you, having homework in your 30s.
You're like, what is this?
A vibe.
Oh,
and it was
you
very
finished
much
grad school. You're like, never again. And here you are.
And I'm paying this $400 to take this online Spanish class where I had to record myself speaking Spanish into my computer. And, but I will say it was easier to be more accountable because I was I paid $400 for this. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
So I kept it on there. I've only used it the one time, but I do have aspirations of maybe going back and doing the next up Spanish course to try to keep that progress going. But
that's awesome.
It's there.
It's been great. All right, what else we got? Is that
got 4 groups left.
All right, I think we should probably go a little faster through these.
So the vacations one is pretty simple.
Yeah.
I have a vacations and trips category.
I
have a general
the 35th birthday line.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I have a general line, which is I just dump $50 a month in there. And then I'm the kind of person where I do one line for every trip or vacation, and then everything goes in there for that trip or vacation. So I have one for my 35th birthday, which I don't think I knew what I was doing yet
coming
then,
up soon.
but I have a friend coming into town for the weekend, and so I'm just gonna put money in there for things that we'll be going and doing together.
Love that. Do you do that for
and then I have a line in there,
or is it?
No.
Okay, this is just your big ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
My sister's turning 40 in a couple months, and I'm like, I need to do something. So I've been thinking about that. So.
That's a bigger one.
Yeah, it's a big one. Yeah, it's a moment. Yeah. And you got Bali,
and then I think
the Bali trip.
Yeah, so that is basically because I know how much that one will cost up front, I can put in I'm going to put in a target for that one so I can set up the money aside that I need to make the payments for the trip.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would just kind of throw money at it as it approaches.
Right. The group trip or the group thing is really interesting to me. It sounds like a blast because you'll just meet.
Yeah, it's a first for me, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I just think it's a great idea because you'll meet some people that you wouldn't have otherwise, and you'll always have this thing to share. So, yeah, I think that's really special.
Yeah.
That's gonna be cool. All right, what's next?
Annual payments. Whole bunch of them here.
Yeah, there's a lot there, but it's not as scary as it looks.
Got an alphabet soup here.
Because a lot of them are not every year. Some of them are every 2 years, my physical therapy licenses, or TSA pre-check. That's every 5 years or something like that.
Is that? Oh, that's every 5 years. Okay. Yeah. How?
Yes.
Do you like the TSA pre-check? I've never done it.
I do like pre-check.
Yeah.
Mostly, I just really like not having to take my liquids out. It's mostly just about me being lazy.
Yeah. Totally.
Everyone I talk to says it's worth it.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's very cheap. It's $100 for 5 years, so it's really not that bad.
Really
you just have to go through the initial steps of doing it. You have to do some stuff in person.
I have a tiny airport. It takes 2 seconds to get through security. They don't even open it's closed until 30 minutes before the 2 flights that day. So I feel it's but then on the way back from big cities, it would be nice to have. So I don't know. I think about it.
Which of these annual payments, maybe there's a handful of them, do you absolutely love paying every single year or whatever the time frame is?
It's a good question.
I will say, there's a lot of there are a lot. Now that I look at it, there's a lot of acronyms in here. Probably like the contact lenses one, when I finally like, it was just like an accomplishment for me when I finally was like, I can just fund this throughout the year. And then I buy a year's worth of contacts at once.
Nice.
And it's so much cheaper.
Mhm.
And so that's what I do. Because then I also usually get a mail-in rebate. Or I have like, if I get like, I usually get like $100 or $150 covered by my insurance. So then I get like that sent back to me or whatever. And so the first time that I was able to do that, where I spent like $500 just like paying for a year's worth of contact lenses, I was like,
that feels pretty cool.
This is amazing.
It's sorted for the whole year.
So that's probably one of my favorite categories, just because I'm like, I can see for another year.
I can see.
I wasn't expecting you to say that one, but I like it. I like that story.
I've been thinking about doing contact lenses. I tried contact lenses when I was like 16 and I absolutely hated it. And now it's like 20 years later. And I'm like, maybe I should try that out again. It's just kind of funny, but
yeah. With all the sports I did contacts fairly. I think I started when I was like 11 wearing contacts, and I actually wear the dailies now, which is why they're a little more expensive. But I just really enjoy the fact of like when the day's over, I just
you
like
don't
take
have
the
to worry
contacts
about
out and throw them away.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with the nonsense.
Like I
of
don't
the
have to travel with
saline.
solution because that was a pain.
Oh yeah.
So I really enjoy
That's
that.
the whole thing. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other of these that you want to talk about?
I mean, like I said, it's mostly like there's like some licensure stuff, like some membership stuff, like Amazon Prime.
What's is Sigma Kappa? Is that a sorority or is
that was a sorority? Yeah, I was in a sorority in college, and so I still am I still volunteer with them,
That's
so I
awesome.
still am active with that. So I pay some like alumni dues there.
Cool.
And then like my car registration, credit card, annual fees, all that kind of stuff. My YNAB subscription.
Oh yeah, there it is.
All that is in here. And again, that's also ordered chronologically of when things are due.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Some of the years are like further out. So like the first one at the top is January, but it's January of 26. And there's one that's like the TSA is like June of 28. So
okay, interesting. Yeah. All right.
And then you got a savings group with just one category there, job loss. That's like your emergency fund, correct?
Yes.
Did you? I just changed the name of my emergency fund to job loss, and I'm really liking it. I think it's like more clear what this is actually for. So I find that really helpful.
I think I probably changed it. I think it used to be emergency fund, and I think I changed it. Probably there must have been some sort of podcast episode you guys did about it.
We have talked about it a couple times.
We've talked about it a lot.
I probably changed. Yeah, so I probably changed it after that. I think it's been maybe like a couple.
I'm in the
years since I
middle
changed
of
it.
writing a blog about this because I really think it's a good idea to just, especially later in your YNAB journey when you have categories for everything under the sun, and really the last thing left is the job loss fund. I think there's a lot of clarity that comes from just calling it that, so.
Yeah.
Been thinking about making more of an argument for that, especially for long-term YNABers. So that's good.
And then the final group, this is a fun one, the Wish Farm.
There you go.
Walk us through what's on the Wish Farm.
So, and I feel like my Wish Farm gets very neglected because I don't generally put a lot of money towards it, but they're just things that I'm like, maybe someday if I don't have 20 trips planned
Right.
and because like that tends to be more of where I spend my money is traveling. Then maybe I will put money towards this. So like I have a luggage set because my luggage is falling apart. My grandparents bought it for me for my high school graduation. It's also brown, which I don't really love, but it's also easy to find at the airport.
There you go.
A bike, like a road bike, because I do like biking and I used to bike a lot, but I was always riding like a hand-me-down bike and I don't have one anymore. And being where I live now, like I could do that year round.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But I don't have that.
Could you really do it year round?
Like,
could you do it in the heat of summer? Would it be possible?
I mean, yeah, you could do it like early morning. You would just have to get up like before the sun came up.
I see.
Because when I was training for my marathon, I would get up at like 5 a.m.
Yeah, you have to, wouldn't you?
So.
Man, okay. And skis.
And then skis. I love to ski. I tell myself that if I buy skis, then I would go more often. I don't really know if that's true, so that may never actually come to fruition. But because up in northern Arizona and Flagstaff, we do have a ski resort. So because I do get snow up there quite frequently, like kind of up by the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, because I was
So I've
like,
been up there several
Arizona,
times.
but Flagstaff. Yeah, I have a friend who lives there, and I remember him telling me they have snow. I'm like, what? Huh? Oh.
Yes.
Go high enough.
You can get all seasons, and it's only like a 2.5 hour drive from Phoenix, so it's really not that far.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's on the list. Again, may never happen. And then golf clubs. I've had the same golf club since I was in high school, playing on my high school team.
Nice.
Which is fine, again, because I'm like I said, also like I'm not very like I don't play super often, so I don't know if it would be like worth it to buy new
Right.
clubs. But like in my head, I'm like, that would be nice if I didn't have these.
So what are
ones
you
from
currently
20 years
playing,
ago?
and what are you looking to buy?
I don't even think I can answer that.
You're like, I'm not that far yet.
Like the clubs I have are just literally whatever I bought in high school, probably
Okay.
from like, I don't remember, I think it was like Osted's Golf or something, just like some local golf shop in
Yeah.
Nebraska. And then the ones I would look to buy, honestly, I would probably just go to some store and be like, what you got?
Just give me the best ones you got. Yeah, at this
Like-
price point.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, because I just recently bought some golf clubs last year, and then I'm looking to add additional clubs, and
It's so much.
I've been looking to add additional clubs since August, and I'm buying them from Costco. And like their inventory is just really weird. And I've been seriously logging into the app every single day for like 2 or 3 months looking to see if they're finally available. I want to buy them.
You'll get there.
I feel like even if you just do one club at a time, it is still really expensive to get new golf
You said
clubs.
the number for a whole set recently, and it blew my mind. It was like, how much was it? Like, just like
I think I said like 3,000. That was
It's a couple thousand.
yeah.
that's
2 or
really
4
high,
thousand.
Ben.
That's high.
Yeah, I think if
okay.
you're yeah, that was definitely on the higher end. If you're
I'm
just
sure
getting
you
started.
could spend like 10 times
Oh.
that if you
Oh my
really wanted
goodness,
to,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
looking to add a set of 3 wedges for like $180. So
yeah,
not a whole
okay,
lot.
okay, that's interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, we went through it all, and we always go long
Yeah.
on these episodes, but nobody cares. Everybody loves
I
it.
know.
Yes, I know. It has been a long episode. Actually, we got some folks that really love the long episodes. Ben, I think it's our youngest listener. His name is Max.
That's right.
6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He loves the long episodes. So he falls asleep listening to these things.
His mom wrote into us, so it was
That's
great.
so cute.
He's gonna love this episode. But yeah, we have gone a long time. I just want to ask you one more question. Just kind of, what are your YNAB routines? I always think this is one of the most helpful sections for YNABers, especially the new YNABers that are getting started, because you've been using YNAB a long time. You've had a lot of successes, a lot of wins along the way. You've got your process dialed in. Just walk us through some of those routines that help you day in and day out.
Yeah, so I pretty much, like I said at the beginning, because I do everything manually, I'm pretty much on YNAB every day, assuming that I make a purchase, which is, I feel like, most days. And so either if I'm doing it on my phone, or I'll grab the receipt and bring it home and like just throw it aside and then do it at some point throughout the day, just to make sure I log the transaction. And then if not every day reconciling, I will reconcile at least every 2 to 3 days. But if I'm already in there logging something, then generally it's easy for me to just quickly reconcile as well. Anything from before, budgeting my paychecks. Like I have like 4 jobs, but I also know like when each direct deposit will come in. So like some come in on Wednesday, some come in on Thursday. So like I will know which week what job I'm getting paid for, and I'll be like, this week I know I'm gonna get paid Wednesday and Thursday. So like I'm gonna log on tomorrow and then see if it's come through to my bank and then put it in my
So you're
YNAB
definitely
and then
one
have
of
all the
those,
fun
like,
of like
as soon as you get the money,
like-
you're assigning it. You're not like letting it sit for a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, there's generally like 20 million things that I need to put it towards already
Right.
that I've been thinking about since the last paycheck. So I usually will do that pretty much right away.
Okay. Love that.
I'm still probably one of the only people I know that I still use a paper checkbook.
Oh, really?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yes.
Like
Oh,
you
You got it?
reconcile
This is very exciting.
that paper checkbook.
No way. Look at
Wow.
you. You got the old school checkbook.
So
Holy
Whoa.
cow.
Yeah, you got it filled out.
like why?
So-
you must
Yeah,
just like
literally
that because
I think it started for me as peace of mind. Like I didn't fully trust that like YNAB would be right.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I needed to like have another way of double checking. It's only for my checking account. Obviously I don't do anything paper for like my credit cards or anything like that. But so I still just can't get away from it. I don't know if it's just like habit.
Just makes you feel
routine,
secure,
like,
and
it's just
yeah.
like I'm like holding on to like my emotional security checkbook. I don't know.
Well,
That's funny.
I like that because clearly you value awareness because you don't use direct import. You enter everything yourself. So
Yeah.
like maybe that's just another level of being really aware of your spending. And I think that's great.
we
I
all
think
have
so.
core YNAB memories, and something just popped in my head. I don't think I've shared this on the show. I remember when I figured out or realized I could ditch that checkbook.
Yeah, you talked about this.
Because I had started using YNAB. I'm like, this is my checkbook register. It has all the information I need. I don't have to keep that stupid check balance anymore. And that was, that's a core YNAB memory, because that was a great day for me. But great day that you get to continue using it.
I don't have that memory because I never use a checkbook. So, Lauren and I are the same age. There was never any need for a checkbook, but you did it anyway, Lauren. I love it.
Yeah, I think there's something my mom ingrained in me. Like, she's a big note person. Like, she likes to write things down and have tracking and records and things like that.
Right.
Like, she taught me also to I keep a record of my car repairs. So all those types of things. I just keep a written
I wish
record.
I did that. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah.
And so the car one I keep on my computer. I'll have a paper floating around with that one, but just general stuff like that. And so I think that's a habit that I took from her.
Yeah.
And then when things became a lot more digitized, it just became kind of I'm just going to check it.
It doesn't feel
I'm just
real.
Keep checking it.
Well,
it's never wrong. But
right. Well, it feels more real when it's on paper in your hand. Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes me feel, I feel this extra level of happy when my account balances match on my checking account, on my computer, on my checkbook, and on
Okay, so when you're
all your systems.
So when you're reconciling,
Yes,
you're
I put
reconciling three things really: the account in YNAB, and your checkbook.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
And then when all those things match up, you can see it because in the balance on my checkbook, I put a little smiley face. So every 10 or 20
so it's
usually
just a nice little feeling.
things. There's a little smiley face.
That's really cute. I love that. Yeah, because it just feels extra good, right?
Yeah,
I love that.
So that's probably the weirdest thing that I do.
Well, if you guys are like Lauren, you can still keep a paper checkbook. Please write a comment. I want to hear about it.
Yes.
I'm sure people will be like that. Some people probably don't even know that.
Yeah, they're like, "What are you even talking about?" I mean, I feel like our age is the cutoff, right? Somebody in their early mid 30s could have a checkbook, but much younger than that, no, there's no way. So,
Right.
Right. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about, Lauren?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I appreciate you guys letting me come on and spout all of my misery about budgeting while single. I will say, to end it on a more positive note, there are definitely some advantages to doing personal finance and budgeting while single, which is you have the freedom and independence to do whatever you want with your own money. I don't really have to be accountable to anyone else. I mean, other than myself, obviously, but I can choose what I want to spend my money on and not really have to get permission from anyone or talk about it with anyone. And there's also, there's no conflict with a partner about my finances because
it's true.
There isn't one.
Because there isn't one. Well, there definitely are advantages to that. Yeah, you can just, it's not a complicated discussion. You're just going to do what you want. And you know what you want. I can tell. And I love that. I love seeing your categories. I can feel I really can see who you are. You're very active. You love to travel. Seems like you have a beautiful life, and that's really, really wonderful. It's all reflected right there in your categories.
Thank you.
So it's great.
All right, friends, thanks for sticking with us for another show. If you're new and you've stuck around this long, why don't you sign up for a free 34-day trial? Go to go to ynab.com/nerds, and you can try it out. But we'll see you in a couple weeks. And until then, happy YNABing.
Happy YNABing.